Maturity is the ability to think, speak, and act according to your emotions within the bounds of dignity. The measure of your maturity is how your spirit holds up in moments of disappointment. Maturity is the capacity to listen to the pulse of your inner emotions without letting them control you in chaos. It is the refinement of thinking, speaking, and acting in a way that preserves your own dignity. When faced with disappointment, when everything seems to collapse around you, the true measure of maturity is revealed, not in avoiding pain or sadness, but in how you choose to hold your spirit steady, guide your mind away from chaos, and still find light amidst darkness. Maturity is like an ancient tree, weathering storms, yet standing firm. Emotions are the wind, but dignity is the deep roots, anchoring it to the earth, keeping the trunk unshaken. When you understand this, you realize that disappointment is not a wall blocking happiness, but a mirror reflecting your inner strength, calm, and wisdom. And from those moments, each step toward maturity becomes a quiet yet radiant journey, making your soul vibrant and your spirit nobler than ever. Maturity is knowing when to be immature. Maturity is not always about restraining all emotions or acting with constant composure. In fact, sometimes maturity is recognizing the moments when you're allowed to be immature, to let go, laugh innocently, cry honestly, or make mistakes without tormenting yourself. Knowing when to be immature is a subtle art, like a potter who knows exactly when to shape the clay and when to let it take form freely. This is not childish irresponsibility, but wisdom in keeping the soul alive, flexible, and natural. A truly mature person knows how to balance dignity and freedom, discipline and joy, reason and heart. When you recognize the moments to be immature, you not only love yourself more, but also offer others authenticity, gentleness, and a sense of closeness. Because sometimes immaturity is the language of simple happiness that life often overlooks. Maturity is the ability to reap rewards without apologizing and without complaining when things don't go smoothly. A mature person knows that when they achieve success, they don't need to apologize for daring to rise. And when things don't go as planned, they don't complain or blame, but quietly learn, adjust, and move forward. Maturity is like a silent breeze, unassuming, not boastful, yet strong enough to sway fragile leaves while keeping the mature tree steadfast. It is the harmony of courage and calm, self-respect and patience, a precious ability that keeps your soul unshaken by life's upheavals and lets it shine with confidence and tranquility. In that moment, a mature person becomes a steadfast anchor, not only for themselves, but also for those around them. Maturity begins to grow when your care for others surpasses your care for yourself. Maturity is not measured by age or experience alone, but by the ability to expand your heart and spirit beyond yourself. When you start to feel the joy, worries, and happiness of others more deeply than your own, that is the first sign of a mature soul. Maturity is like an ancient tree. Its roots dig deep into the soil of self-awareness, but its branches reach outward, offering shade and shelter to the lives around it. Those who care for others first do not diminish their own worth, but understand that love and sharing make their heart expansive and their spirit richer. In that moment, maturity is no longer a solitary journey, but a bridge connecting people, where each act of care sows seeds of happiness and spreads positive energy. The balance between self-love and love for others is the starting point for a soul to truly grow, becoming compassionate and radiant. Maturity is the ability to endure uncertainty. Maturity is not about knowing all the answers, but about standing firm amidst life's chaotic currents when everything is unclear and unformed. When you face uncertainty, when plans unravel, the future blurs, or the path ahead lacks markers, that's when your true strength is revealed. The ability to endure uncertainty is like standing on a cliff amidst a vast ocean. Waves crash, winds howl, yet you maintain balance, observing and steering toward the light. A mature person doesn't avoid or force clarity. They embrace life's natural rhythm, learning patience, flexibility, and trust in themselves. In uncertainty, maturity helps you find inner strength, cultivate courage, and live fully in each moment. For it is steadfastness amidst countless unknowns that shapes a resilient and mature soul. Maturity is the ability to commit to a task until it is complete, to endure an injustice without demanding immediate fairness, to carry money without spending it recklessly, to fulfill your duties without being watched. When you endure an injustice without demanding instant justice, you forge patience, resilience, and inner strength. For maturity is not about being rewarded, but about preserving dignity and self-respect. The ability to carry money without wasteful spending or to complete tasks without supervision reflects self-control and an awareness of the value of each action. Maturity, therefore, is a delicate blend of freedom and discipline, patience and responsibility. It transforms ordinary acts into expressions of inner strength and tranquility. A mature person is like a river flowing quietly but resolutely, nourishing both itself and its surroundings, where even the smallest actions carry value and meaning. Maturity includes recognizing that no one will see anything in us that we do not see in ourselves. Stop waiting for a producer and start producing yourself. Maturity begins with realizing a simple yet profound truth. The outside world only reflects what you've seen and understood within yourself. If you don't recognize your own value, abilities, or potential, no one else will do it for you. Maturity is letting go of waiting for recognition, praise, or opportunities from others, and starting to create your own opportunities, value, and achievements. It's like an artist who doesn't wait for a producer, but molds the clay, mixes the colors, and paints the canvas of their own life. A mature person understands that true power lies within, the ability to observe, evaluate, and act, not in waiting for external validation. When you step out from the shadow of waiting, your soul opens wider, your energy surges, and life becomes fuller through the work of your own hands and heart. To err is human. To stumble is common. To laugh at yourself is maturity. Making mistakes is inevitable, for we are human, bound by limitations and natural errors. Stumbling, failing, or faltering in life is ordinary, like raindrops falling to the earth uncontrollable, yet nourishing the life around them. But true maturity is measured by the ability to look at yourself, see your mistakes, your foolish moments, or your stumbles, and laugh, not to mock, but to free yourself from self-blame, to learn, and to keep moving forward. Laughing at yourself is like standing in a storm, yet smiling at the sunlight. It reflects inner strength, calm, and self-compassion. When you reach this moment, you realize that every mistake, every stumble is not a failure, but a precious step on the path to maturity, making your soul lighter, freer, and richer in experience than ever before. A sign of maturity is accepting restrained contentment. Maturity is not about satisfying every desire instantly, but about savoring joy with refinement, control, and awareness. When you accept contentment with boundaries, you practice balancing pleasure and reason, emotion and dignity. It's like savoring a fragrant cup of coffee. If you drink too quickly, the bitterness and aroma fade, but when you sip slowly, you taste its full depth, and the joy becomes richer. A mature person understands that happiness is not about having more or having it now, but about cherishing moments, respecting boundaries, and enjoying contentment without being swept away by excess. In that restraint, the soul grows stronger, the spirit finds peace, and life offers deeper, lasting, and fuller joy. Maturity involves no longer being deceived by yourself. You can no longer fool yourself, deny, or evade the deep truths within. When you mature, you must face yourself, your imperfections, limitations, and responsibilities, and accept that you are the first to recognize, confront, and take responsibility for yourself. It's like standing before a mirror with no fog to obscure it. The scratches and flaws are visible, but this honest gaze is the starting point for change and growth. A mature person doesn't shy away from truth or seek external validation. They learn to understand themselves, take responsibility, and grow from their experiences. Only then do they truly master themselves, acting with full clarity, resolve, and deep self-awareness. Maturity begins with a willingness to dedicate yourself. Maturity is not just about knowledge or experience, but about recognizing the value of giving, dedicating yourself without expecting immediate reward. When you're ready to pour your heart, time, and energy into something greater than yourself for work, community, or those around you, that is the moment you begin to truly mature. Dedication is like sowing a seed in the earth. You don't know how it will sprout, but you patiently water, nurture, and hope. A mature person understands that the value of an action lies not in immediate results, but in the sincerity and responsibility invested in it. Through dedication, the soul opens wider, the mind matures, and the heart grows more compassionate. By being willing to give, you not only create value for the world, but also cultivate maturity within yourself, a quiet but enduring strength that can transform your life and those around you. Age is just a number. Maturity is a choice. Maturity doesn't come automatically with time. It's the result of conscious choices, of how you face challenges, take responsibility for your actions, and balance reason with emotion. A mature person chooses to face the truth, dares to take responsibility, restrains fleeting desires, and is ready to dedicate themselves to something greater. Maturity is like planting a perennial tree. You must nurture, water, and wait patiently each day, not just sit and expect it to grow with time. When you realize maturity is a choice, you see the true power in your hands, the ability to decide to be steadfast, compassionate, and spiritually free, regardless of time. Age doesn't define who you are. Your mature choices shape your true self. Maturity isn't when we start speaking grand things. It's when we begin to understand the small things. Maturity isn't measured by lofty words or grand philosophies, but by the ability to feel, understand, and cherish the seemingly simple things in life. A sincere thank you, a small act of care, or recognizing another's joy or sorrow. These small things are the true measure of a mature soul. Maturity is like light, slipping through a narrow crack, not dazzling or loud, but enough to illuminate a room, enough to let you see and value every detail and moment of life. When you start to value the small things, you also learn patience, compassion, and the ability to love sincerely, qualities that create the depth and tranquility of a mature soul. And from those seemingly small things, you gradually build a life full of meaning and peace. Age doesn't guarantee maturity. Maturity is when you stop seeking recognition and start recognizing yourself. It's when you learn to listen instead of reacting hastily. It's when you know that sometimes silence is stronger than 1,000 justifications. A mature person isn't one who never falls, but one who dares to rise after wounds, grateful for the pain that taught them to love rightly. Age is just numbers on paper, but maturity is a journey of the mind. It is forged through loss, tempered by mistakes, and nourished by compassion. A person may grow older each day, but remain immature if they've never learned to take responsibility for their own life. Don't ask someone their age. Ask what they've learned from those years, for only when the heart understands, the mind lets go, and the eyes see deeply into the essence of things, only then are we truly mature. Maturity doesn't come with age, but with accepting responsibility. You're only young once, but immaturity can last a lifetime. Maturity isn't about growing physically, but about bearing the consequences of your choices, sweet or bitter. A truly mature person doesn't blame circumstances or hide from mistakes, but calmly says, "I take responsibility." That simple yet weighty statement is the mark of a soul that stands firm in the storm. Youth may come only once, but immaturity can linger forever if you stay in your comfort zone, afraid of mistakes, pain, or confrontation. Some at 30 still blame their parents, at 40 still resent life's unfairness, at 50 still don't know what they want. That's not aging. It's being stuck in ungrown youth. Maturity doesn't take away joy, but teaches us to find joy in understanding. It doesn't harden us, but helps us love with measure. When we dare to take responsibility, we grow not only in others' eyes, but also in our own hearts. Maturity is often more irrational than youth, and frequently the most unjust to youth. Maturity can seem irrational, for it forces us to let go of things that once brought happiness just to learn to live with tranquility. It teaches us to smile at the absurd, to stay silent when we know we're right, and to accept that not every effort is rewarded. That is the price of growing up bitter, slow, but necessary. And that's why maturity feels unjust to youth. Youth craves freedom, but maturity demands restraint. Youth wants to dream, but maturity requires calculation. Youth wants to live for emotions, while maturity compels us to live for responsibility. Ironic, isn't it? Yet, in that injustice, we learn patience, compassion, and inner strength, qualities youth, no matter how vibrant, cannot yet possess. Maturity is not youth's enemy, but its strict teacher, teaching us to love life with clarity after having loved it with innocence. Maturity, one discovers, is all about accepting the unknown. Maturity is when you no longer rush to judge or seek to grasp every answer. You learn to stay silent before what you don't yet understand, to smile when life defies expectations. Accepting the unknown is not ignorance, it's a sign of profound wisdom. You realize the world is vast beyond your small self, that each person is an unread book, and sometimes not needing an answer is the truest answer. A mature person isn't one who knows everything, but one calm enough to admit they don't know and brave enough to keep learning. For in accepting the unknown, you truly open your heart to understand, to love, and to live more fully. Ultimately, maturity isn't about seeking certainty, but finding peace in the uncertain. Maturity is when your world opens up and you realize you're not its center. The moment you realize you're not the universe's center, that's the moment of awakening. You stop comparing, judging, or demanding others understand you, and start learning to understand them. Maturity is when you step back to listen, look outward to empathize, and know that happiness isn't always about being noticed, but about blending into the flow of life. The world wasn't created to serve you, but for you to learn to contribute to it with kindness, sharing, and humility. And when your heart is big enough to hold not just you, but others, you become not only more mature, but also more compassionate. For maturity isn't about making the world revolve around you, but about learning to revolve with the world. Youth ends when selfishness emerges. Maturity begins when one lives for others. Maturity moves in the opposite direction. It's when you start living for others, not because you lose yourself, but because you understand that happiness is not owned, it's given. When you can place others' joy alongside or even above your own, you've crossed the threshold from a selfish I to a compassionate we. Maturity is when you understand that love is not demanding, but giving. It's when you can work without needing recognition, help others without expecting thanks, and smile, even if the only reward is peace within. Youth ends when you only know how to take, and maturity begins when you learn to give. For only in living for others do you truly understand what it means to live meaningfully. Maturity is the moment one reclaims their purity. Maturity isn't about losing innocence, but about passing through pain to find peace again. It's when you've seen enough of life's complexity, yet still hold on to kindness. It's when you've been betrayed, yet still believe in humanity, fallen, yet still dare to love. That purity is no longer naive, but a clarity washed by experience and understanding. Perhaps it's the moment when the heart no longer seeks to compete, the mind no longer needs to win, and the soul simply longs to live true to itself. Then you realize maturity isn't about losing, but about rediscovering. Rediscovering a pure soul, not serene from ignorance, but serene from understanding everything, yet choosing tranquility. That is the purity of one who has weathered storms and still keeps the light alive in their heart.